FB tweet. Pinterest email send text message print. Prominent Los Angeles Democratic Party donor and LGBTQ political activist Ed Buck has been sentenced to 30 years in prison after the meth overdose deaths of 2 men. U.S. District Judge Christina A. Snyder sentenced Buck, 67, on Thursday for providing fatal doses of methamphetamine to Gemmel Moore and Timothy Dean, who died at his apartment after he injected them with the drug, the Justice Department announced. Buck's lawyer Mark Werksm tells People they plan to appeal the ruling. The imposition of a life sentence against Mr. Buck completes the tragedy of this case. He should not have been prosecuted or convicted of these charges in the first place. We will appeal this conviction and this excessive sentence and continue to seek justice for Mr. Buck, Werksm says. A restitution hearing is set for May 16, the Justice Department said. Last July, Buck was convicted of 2 counts of distribution of methamphetamine resulting in death, 4 counts of distribution of methamphetamine, 1 count of maintaining drug-involved premises, and 2 counts of enticement to travel in interstate commerce for prostitution, according to the Justice Department. His trial lasted 9 days. During his so-called party and play sessions from 2011 to September 2019, Buck solicited men, some of whom were homeless or struggling with drug addiction, to consume narcotics that he provided and perform sexual activities at his apartment, which prosecutors deemed a lethal and unchecked pattern of reckless disregard for human life, the Justice Department said. Buck found his victims on social media, dating websites, and even word of mouth from other victims, giving a finder's fee to those who gave references. The businessman would then give out drugs like methamphetamine, GHB, aka the date rape drug, and clonazepam, and sometimes injected victims with drugs intravenously in a practice known as slamming. He also sexually assaulted the victims once they lost consciousness, per the Justice Department. His party and play fetish turned lethal when Gemmel Moore died of a methamphetamine overdose on July 27, 2017, and Timothy Dean died on January 7, 2019, after Buck gave him a fatal dose of methamphetamine. Still, Buck continued to give drugs to more people and lured victims from other states to go to California to take part in prostitution through his party and play events. He was ultimately arrested in September 2019. The Justice Department said. This defendant preyed upon vulnerable victims, men who were drug-dependent and often without homes, to feed an obsession that led to death and misery, said United States Attorney Tracy L. Wilkinson, per the Justice Department. Mr. Buck continues to pose a clear danger to society, as evidenced by him continuing to lure men to his apartment, even after he killed 2 men with lethal methamphetamine injections. The sentence imposed today will protect other potential victims and hopefully will bring some solace to the families of 2 men who needlessly died in Mr. Buck's apartment. Christy K. Johnson, the assistant director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles field office, added that Buck preyed on young black males who were vulnerable, isolated and were often fighting addiction.